sitting up on the table with me here, and also in the crowd amongst us, who will be here afterwards to answer any questions that people may have that they do feel confident enough to speak about in front of the room tonight. Should I ask everyone to be respectful to each other and the people up and on the stage, because it is a night where we're trying to provide this sort of information to help everyone move forward on a positive pathway throughout this rehabilitation of our great suburb. Okay. Victoria Police, just so you're aware, have been doing ongoing controls throughout the Maribyrnong area, especially the affected area. And I'd like to thank the locals, because I believe that my members have been pulling over a lot of cars, because that's what we ask them to do, check people to make sure that they should be in the area. Byproduct of that is that we're pulling over quite a few citizens repeatedly because they're in different cars and people are assisting and so on. So thank you for your patience while we're completing our duties and our efforts to make it as safe as possible while we're going through this rehabilitation phase. At this stage, I'm going to introduce Mark Riley, who's from Disaster Relief Australia, to just give us an update on who his organisation is, what they do and what they can do for you moving forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. As introduced, my name is Mark Riley from Disaster Relief Australia. We're a relatively new organisation. We've been around about 6.5 years. We're a veterans-based organisation, so I myself was military before I joined the fire service. I retired from the fire service last year, and I've been volunteering with Disaster Relief Australia for the last 12 months continuously, but prior to that I was since 2016. We're a veterans-based organisation, which means like nearly 80% of our membership is ex-military, such as myself, and then we have about 15-16% of first responders, and then we have a very small portion, but a large number of civilians who assist. So the emergency responders are people like firefighters, police officers, ambulance paramedics. We have a lot of doctors and nurses and so forth like that. We were engaged by Emergency Management Victoria to come to Victoria to assist with spontaneous volunteer management. So we've established a forward operating base down in the Raleigh Road facility, and we've been down there now since Saturday night. Our model is that we deploy in waves, be military based or be veteran based. You know, we're used to sleeping rough, so we've been sleeping down on stretchers in the Raleigh Road facility. And every day we go out into the community and work on work orders. So the work orders have been generated through this facility here, the Council's Relief and Recovery Centre. We've almost finished all the work we've been allocated. So the reason the Victorian Government engaged us to come from very early in the piece, normally we don't come for a couple of weeks, but it's all the dangerous parts. There's still rain clouds in the sky, and still flooding occurring. So we don't always come this early, but one of the skills we've developed, I've just spent 4.5 months working in Lismore as the theatre commander for Lismore, and in that role there, we engaged with the local community and developed a model of spontaneous volunteering. So we've been utilising spontaneous volunteering here to great effect. We have a web page, and you can go to the web page and register. It's www.disasterreliefaus, AUS, all one word, .org. You click on that link and it brings up a page, where there's a really big, register, big yellow tag. Click on that and then you can put your details in. And one of the force multipliers for us, we've been able to get a large number of spontaneous volunteers from both within Maribyrnong and this surrounding areas. And they've allowed us to work extremely efficiently to clean a large number of service a large number of properties. That's basically it. Are there any questions? Or questions at the end?
Cool that.
We'll do questions at the end.
Thank you very much.
Okay, right.
Thanks for that, Mark. That's something I mentioned at the start. If we can save our questions towards the end of the evening, there'll be plenty of time for. Because what you may find is throughout the presentations we may indeed answer your question. So if we hold questions to the end, that'd be really appreciated. But thanks, Mark. That's some really good information there. I've now got Martina Holland coming here from Emergency Recovery Victoria. give an explanation of her role and her roles and responsibilities.
Thanks very much, Paul. Hi everyone. Before I get started, could I just see a show of hands from anyone who attended the first community meeting here? Yeah, it's great to see some familiar faces here. I think you may know us as Bushfire Recovery Victoria, because up until the 17th of October, that was our name. So we were born in response to the 2019 to 20 Eastern Victoria bushfires, and our role is really about the idea of recovery. So in 2021, we also supported the June flood and storm events, and our role was really to walk alongside councils, to support communities, to get the things that they need to help them recover, to build back better, even in some cases. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is, what does that mean for you here in Maribyrnong? Well, at the moment, you're very much still in what we would call relief, which is where you're getting things like payments, you're getting things like emergency accommodation, you're getting things like the support of these agencies, other volunteers who are doing a great job helping you clean up. Once everyone is feeling okay through that relief stage, we will come in to support this community through council, working collaboratively with council, to start to talk about longer term recovery. And so we've learned a lot about recovery over the last 2.5 years working with bushfire impacted and flood impacted communities. And in fact, we've got lots of people in our organisation who've even supported communities from as far back as Black Saturday, and we work with people who were there for Ash Wednesday as well. And so I guess some of the sorts of supports that we can offer you, we've already got a couple in place, and I'd really love to listen to your feedback today about how they're working for you. One is that we've put together a 1-800 number. Now, last week, 1-800 number had a little bit of a backlog, but we've cleared that now, so you should have no troubles getting through to that number. And there are flyers just in the foyer there for you to pick up if you want to learn more about that. Basically, the idea of a 1-800 number, it's a one-stop shop. It's the front door into all the recovery services that you'll be able to access over the coming weeks and months. And so I'm just going to throw to Ashley, who's one of the support agencies, from one of the support agencies that sits behind our 1-800 number. And I'm just going to invite him to tell you a little bit about what you could expect if you give that number a call. Welcome, Ashley. Thanks very much.
Hey everyone. So my name is
Ashley, could you come in?
Yeah, and maybe just talk close to me. Yeah, great.
Okay, down the back.
Great, thank you. Yeah.
So I work for CoHealth. We're a local community health agency. You probably recognise us through all of the COVID functions that we've recently undertaken in the past couple of years. And we're scattered throughout the west and north of Melbourne. We have recently been engaged by ERV to help support the 1-800 number in terms of scale up, and also provide a local response as well, particularly for those affected in Maribyrnong. So once you call the 1-800 number, because there are multiple agencies, you might speak to someone from CoHealth, you might speak to someone from another organisation through Windermere or through Gippsland Health, but ultimately we will all provide the same service to people who need it. And there are 4 sort of key areas that we support through that hotline. One is health and wellbeing, so if you have any immediate health and wellbeing needs, obviously if it's an emergency, dial 000. We'll be able to link you in with services that are available, whether that's financial or whether that's other services or resources that you need. We'll be able to link you in with crisis accommodation. We've recently set up a health response at the Mickleham Centre for National Resilience. I keep calling it the Quarantine Hub, but it's the Centre for National Resilience. So we'll be able to link people in with emergency accommodation, or if the Mickleham site isn't suitable, we'll work with the State Command Centre to make sure that we identify an appropriate accommodation setting for you. And we also provide clean-up support. So we can register you with the council to support with local clean-up as well. And you can also do that through a link in the 1-800 number as well. There is an interpreter service linked to the 1-800 number. You just need to make sure you press 9 before you keep going, and we'll link you in with an interpreter to help you out the process. I'm going to be here at the end if you do have any questions around CoHealth support. Obviously, as a local community health provider, we do a lot more than just support the 1-800 number. And we'll be able to support with mental health and wellbeing, allied health, primary care, and any other supports that people may need throughout the ongoingly, but particularly throughout the next couple of weeks to months. So, thank you.
Thanks very much, Ashley. And I guess one of the things that we know about recovery is that every person's recovery is different. Every person's recovery journey is different because every emergency is different and every community in which you're recovering is different. But there are a few classic themes that we see across emergencies and across communities. And if you're at the first community meeting, you may remember me talking about these three themes. One is we know that emergencies cause loss, okay, whether that's material loss, loss of routines, loss of relationship, loss of a sense of certainty. And so that's where the support services that we have on offer are really important to help you process and deal with that loss. We also know that they cause huge disruption. You know, we're all here, aren't we? I'm sure we're not usually here on a Tuesday night. So disruption to your routine, disruption to your life, disruption to basically everything that was normal pre-emergency. And we also know that for a very small percentage of people who experience an emergency, there can be lasting trauma. Okay, most people will recover okay through just interventions like chatting to friends, chatting to neighbours, talking about what's happened. About 80 to 85% will be absolutely fine and recover fully. But a small amount might need a little bit of additional support, and that's where our services come into play. So one of the services that you can access through the 1800 number is cleanup. Okay, and I'm going to invite our Director of Cleanup, Christian George, to chat with you a little bit about what that means from ERV's perspective. Thanks, Christian.
Good evening, everybody. So I start at the state level because I think that's really important, and Maribyrnong is one of a number of communities that have experienced effects from this flood. We've currently got teams up at Rochester, Echuca, Shepparton, and moving through Seymour as well. So trying to make sure we're supporting all these communities at the same time, forefront of our minds, but also really important that we're here and engaging at the local level where we can as well. The two things I want to highlight first up is a safety message. There is a lot of asbestos present in a lot of the buildings we're working in. So it would be remiss of me not to start in that space. I would implore you to use the 1800 number to gain an inspection for your property, for your structure, before you go ripping out carpet or plaster or cement sheeting, because there can be asbestos present and that can cause lasting health effects to individuals that do handle it in the incorrect manner. I'll go into that safety inspection a little bit later. The second point I want to really highlight is we are supporting councils as they move through the response to recovery phase of this event. So that means for things like curbside or street debris removal, individual councils have the lead, and ERV's job is to support them with logistics and planning to make sure that they can all do it in a deliberate and certified manner. And that's in accordance with both the Environmental Protection Agency and WorkSafe. So here in Maribyrnong, for example, there are some unique challenges around curbside debris pickup. I know the tram lines is one of those challenges. So we're working hand in glove with council to make sure that the response is both safe, but also somewhat timely from our contractors. There has been a little bit of talk around local content on this cleanup. So what I'd like to do now is basically highlight the contractor we are using. Their name is Johns Lynn Group. They are a Melbourne-based company, and they have very good skill sets for this type of event. They are an insurance-based cleanup company originally, and they move through and support ERV in all of the areas I've talked about earlier to basically provide whatever cleanup support is needed. The next point that I mentioned earlier, which is worth highlighting, is the inspections that are available free of charge. So if your property was affected by the flood, you can ring up the 1800 number, you can register through the cleanup caravan, which has this over there, sorry. You can also, thank you for the point at the back there, and you can also go with the inspection teams and register on your phone. What that inspection allows you to do is have an all hazards assessment team move through your structures and provide you with a report that identifies a number of options or issues inside that property as a result of the flood. For example, it may be the presence of asbestos. It may also talk about electrical faults as a result of the flood. It may talk about structural integrity, a whole range of things. Once that report is compiled and be given back to the property owner, and it gives you a pathway or an options pathway to then look at what options you have moving forward. That may be to engage your insurance, it may be to engage a cleaner, it may be to engage an electrician to treat those elements of the report that have been identified as needing work. If the property is unsalvageable, there are also options given as part of that report that you can engage the state on to try and arrange treatment. Again, I want to highlight this is a free of charge service. So all you have to do is go to one of the mechanisms I said earlier, the 1-800 number being the primary, and engage with the concierge team there, and they will schedule an appointment for you to have those inspection teams move through and conduct that report on your property.
Thanks, Christian. And just one final message. If you walk away with one message tonight, let it be that recovery is a marathon, not a sprint. So please set your pace for a marathon. It's a long process. It can be really draining. It takes a lot of energy, but know that there are a lot of people here to support you in that process. And I'm really looking forward to hearing your questions today so that we can respond to this individual community's needs. Thanks.
Thanks very much. It's a really important part of the team that we have here all together. So it's really good information to be shared. Next we've got the EPA to give a little bit of information to us as well. I'll introduce Steve Lansdale to speak on their behalf. Thanks, Steve.
Evening all. Nice to see some familiar faces and very hard-working volunteers. For those that don't know me, my name is Steve Lansdale and very proud to manage our Western Metro regional office based in Sunshine, so very close to here. In terms of EPA Victoria, I know you're probably sick of lots of acronyms, so just in case you haven't heard of who we are, Environment Protection Authority Victoria, and to make it really easy in terms of our number, 1300 EPA Vic, so that's 1300 372 842. In terms of our role in emergencies and our role in this work, it really is working very closely with all these agencies. We're particularly supporting council in a lot of work they're doing. So we've been here at the Relief Centre meeting people over the recent week. You've probably heard a lot about some of our testing. So we've been testing water quality in Maribyrnong River in particular. We've also been doing sediment testing and offering that to residents. I'll have our Chief Scientist, Mark Taylor, talk a bit more to some of that work and the results we've been getting through. But I guess the other big role that EPA plays is we regulate waste and pollution. So some of those other sorts of supports we're providing, waiving landfill levies, gate rebate fees, those sorts of things that are supporting the big clean-up, not just here, but around the state. A big thank you, because you are our eyes and ears, and even despite what a lot of people are going through personally, people are still picking up the phone and calling us when you're concerned about pollution that you might see down the river. Certainly with events like this and rainfall events, we get a lot of hydrocarbon sheens, oil sheens, those sorts of things. We've been getting a few of those call out. So big thanks. You are our eyes and ears, and again, 1300 EPA here. We're out there working with you, both supporting testing and doing our pollution response work. But in terms of the testing, I might hand over to our Chief Scientist, Professor Mark Taylor, to talk a bit more about that.
Thanks, Steve. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much. We responded to the Council's call on Wednesday to come out and do some sampling, because I understood when I talked to Laura Jo that residents were concerned about the material that had been deposited in their yards and in around the vicinity. I'll cut to the good news of the data that we've received so far, and we'll start putting it out on the web tomorrow and emailing the individual homeowners who've let us come into their yards. Our staff have been out. There's over 30 staff from Science at EPA working on this. We've sampled the soils and the sediments for a range of contaminants, E. coli, trace elements, including metals and metalloids, arsenic, lead, cadmium, for example, and hydrocarbons and PFASs. The only analyte of any concern is the pathogens, the E. coli, which exceeds what would be acceptable values both in the river and both in the sediments, and that flags really what we should all be doing anyway, not staying out of the river because it's turbid, it's relatively dirty. We're not encouraging people to go boat on there at this moment in time. And in terms of your yards, not to do direct hand contact when you're cleaning up. Wear boots, wear some gloves and a mask, and clean up, and just apply sensible precautionary procedures. In terms of the pathogens, it's quite variable, the pathogens that we've identified both in the water and also in the sediments in people's yards. You'd expect that anyway in public open spaces. When you get sediment deposited, that can come from a variety of sources, natural sources such as native animals, or it could be from sewage overflows. The good news from that is that what we expect over time with the effect of UV light for those pathogens to be neutralised. We encourage people where they may be concerned and they've got garden beds to work it into their garden soil so the garden soil microbiota can do its job and help clean up. So far we've gone to just over 100 homes and we'll continue doing that work. We've got staff who are out today and they'll be out tomorrow going from house to house collecting samples that we then take back to the lab. They then have to be prepared and analysed, so there's a little bit of a delay, but we're releasing the data as we get it, and we're going to continue doing that work for the next couple of days. We'll make a decision where we continue going house to house, or we just then go, we have enough information. If people want to get their sediment sampled, they can post it into us or make a call to EPA on the EPA number, 1300 EPA Vic, that Steve just spoke about, and we'll arrange a time to collect any samples so that they can be analysed. I think that's really that's it. That's the message. Stay out of the river. No boating at this point in time, and we know there's no swimming permitted or encouraged in the Maribyrnong River. And the same thing with the contaminants deposited in and around your garden, the sediments that I should say. Just if you're going to clean them up, wear boots. Wear some gloves, wear a mask, and take your boots off, obviously, when you go back into your house to minimise any transfer. I think that's it. Questions afterwards. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that. I appreciate it. That's a really good news about the testing that's been done so far. The results are really positive. At this stage, I'm going to hand over to Maribyrnong City Council CEO Celia Paddock to give you an update on everything the council's been doing. The council's been working hand in hand with every agency, including ourselves, Victoria Police, to continue on this road to recovery. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out again for a community meeting. I really want to first let you know that most of your councillors are here. So your two ward councillors, our Mayor, Councillor Tran, is down the back, Councillor Sarah Carter, here in the front, our Deputy Mayor. We also have Councillor Bernadette Thomas, Councillor Michael Clark, Councillor Cook Lamb and Councillor Torgay-Hawkera. So all the councillors are here, as well as a number of council staff to talk to you tonight after the meeting. I'd like to start by thanking all the volunteers who have worked tirelessly with you all and us since the flood started on the 14th of October. In particular, I want to thank the flood warriors who were first on site with our crews to offer assistance with the council once the area was deemed safe by the SES. So none of us could come in. More recently, we had Relief Recovery Australia, who you've heard from tonight, who've been working with the flood warriors. Thank you both. You've both been a great support to the community and to council. This relief centre was opened at 3 a.m. on the morning of the 14th, and it's keeping open now. So it will be open until the end of this week, and we'll make another decision at the end of the week how long we need to keep it open. But the services will be here to help you. Just wanting to mention some hard waste. Council staff, our contractors Cleanaway and the state government's contractors who've already been mentioned, the Tom Group, they continue to clear the hard waste with over 4,000 cubic metres already removed. Now, very importantly, we want to get the hard waste out, and we've had some difficulty with Raleigh Road, with trams, cars, and as you know, it's a very busy road in the main entrance to High Point. So we've managed to have an agreement with the Department of Transport for a nighttime closure of Raleigh Road. This will be starting tomorrow at 11:30 p.m. and it will run through, well, it'll be 11:30 p.m. till 4:30 a.m. and it will run through until Friday. So we're hoping that will get the bulk of the hard rubbish, and there'll also be crews on in the morning to help take the hard rubbish out of your front yards onto the pavement so that they can come through and pick that up. If you're a resident of Valley Road or Van Ness Avenue, please come and talk to Laura Jo Milan, who's going to put her hand up down the back there, or Patrick Jess, who's, I think, the tallest man in the room, so you won't miss him. Come and talk to Laura Jo and Patrick about that process in a bit more detail. And if you need overnight accommodation for some or all of those nights, please let us know and we'll organise that for you. We'll also be door knocking and contacting impacted residents tomorrow morning, just to make sure everybody's got that message. Just with bins, if your household bins have been damaged, broken or missing, you can call the council, you can email the council, you can come in here and ask us, or you can tell someone when they knock on your door. And we'll organise a replacement bin within 24 hours. Patrick's your man down there who's doing the bin as well, so see Patrick. Now with the drains, council's removed over 160 tonne of mud and slurry from roads and drains. In addition to the mud and slurry, we've removed debris from pits and drains, and we've been street sweeping across the streets and obviously in our parks, gardens, etc. So 120,000 cubic square metres has been removed to date. And we're also cleaning parks, playgrounds and barbecues. Unfortunately, some of our playgrounds will lose, but council will be committed to replacing those. We have support for our businesses. So I know a number of you work from home and run your business from home. We're in the process of contacting, we think we've contacted about a third of the home-based businesses, so if you're here tonight and we haven't contacted you, please come and talk to myself, Laura, Jo, Patrick, there's other staff here too who have got their badges on. And we'll provide you with further information on the grants that are available from the state government and further assistance in regard to working space. So we have provided some co-working spaces, and if you need that, we'll do that. We'll do that and find that for you. Just on accommodation, council has been organising emergency accommodation and support for 150 people and families, and we're providing support also to vulnerable residents and ensuring they have access to the services they need. So we're aware that some residents have only recently returned to their properties. So if you're one of those and you need assistance of any kind, please come and talk to us tonight. Or you can talk to us, you can also talk to us online, and we're here every day. And just to finish on the food trucks, we're aware that people haven't got cooking facilities. So we have had food trucks, you will have seen them over the last week, driving the streets or based at Colton Gardens to provide food for residents. So that's all free. There's coffee trucks as well, so when you make sure you use those. We've also had food available in the community centre, and that will continue for the rest of the week as well. There are portable toilets in strategic locations for volunteers to use, and with the assistance of Greater Western Water, taps have been put on hydrants around the area for people to access water, which will remain in place until such time as we need to remove them. So, like all of our speakers, and it's been, I can just say it's been terrific, all the agencies working together with council. And childcare, thank you Councillor Carter. And we have organised childcare, and I think through the MAC. So come and see us about that. And see Laura, Jo or Patrick or myself, and we'll help you with that. So I'm happy to take any questions, as is anyone on the panel. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that update. If anyone does have a question, just raise your hand and we'll get to you. You'll be first in just a second. And if anyone does have questions towards the end of the day, feel comfortable, people will be hanging around. So, yes, sir, you were the first one. Hand up.
Yes, I've lived in Maribyrnong for over 60 years. Lived there since 1960. I've been through the 74 flood and all the floods that have happened in Maribyrnong since. I found out about this meeting by listening to Channel 9 News tonight. I didn't know about the meeting that was held the other day. It was in the newsletter on Monday the 24th of October because we got the newsletter in the afternoon and the meeting was held at lunchtime. Now, how are people supposed to know that these meetings are on if it's not in the newsletter and there's no other way of notifying you?
I can probably make a response to
I
that.
mean, not everybody's on Facebook, not everybody's on Twitter and all these platforms.
No, I
And if you rely on the newsletter and it comes after the meeting,
I hear what you're saying. The meeting today was advertised in the newsletter yesterday. We have had people door knocking with the newsletter. I take your point about Saturday.
talks about a meeting at lunchtime.
Yeah, that one for last week, we had to call it. I don't know why you got it later in the afternoon, but I take on board what you're saying. We're doing our best here to get the information out.
I'm not disputing that, but unfortunately there's a lot of people in Duffy Street, where I live. I mean, there is a couple here, I don't know anybody else. That, you know, to rely on the news.
Yeah, happy to talk to the Duffy Street residents at the end of the meeting. Please come and talk to me.
So just in relation to that, we'll, getting better at communications, okay? And apologise if people weren't able to get that information come to the meeting straight away. But there's improvements to be made on that, absolutely, and the council will work on it.
Well, look, sorry, apologies. Hang on a second, sir. There's a lady at the rear who has her hand up. Thank you.
What's the live now? Oh, yeah, that's all right.
Sorry?
I have a question to ask, actually.
I'll mention that at the end.
There's a lot of families that have to move out in the areas. Therefore, there's a lot of vacant properties.
Yes.
There's a concern now, the nature strips overgrown with grass. There's been snake silage for cockroaches, rats. They need to be removed quite quickly because there's children around.
Yes.
And it's a safety issue. And will there be some sort of security monitoring of those squatters or straight homes that are now vacant?
Okay, so just very briefly, the question was about rats and snakes and so on in amongst the hard rubbish, and the challenge of squatters possibly attempting to move in and tearing of the nature strip. That's correct? I can speak to the patrols of the Victoria Police that are going throughout the state 24/7. If you don't see our vehicles there, it doesn't mean that we're not there because we have an area to patrol. Okay, but I've tasked my members to be there all the time, to be honest with you. We've got a neighbourhood policing team that goes throughout all of my area of Footscray, Yarraville and so on, but they are dedicated at the moment to Maribyrnong. So that's what we have for that. If someone does come home to their house and there's someone in there, ring triple O. Okay, I encourage you to ring triple O so that we know to come down. Because if we don't know, we can't come and assist. In relation to the hard rubbish, I'll have to hand that over to you, Celia, if that's okay.
And can I just say that we will, I know a lot of the nature strips have still got hard rubbish on them. We're hoping with this overnight, maybe the 24-hour posting, we're able to do all of that. And then we will be looking at the nature strips and assisting you where we can. So I know your mowers will be full of mud, you won't be able to use them. So I hope my councillors are happy, but we'll be looking at your nature strips and we can help you with that clean up.
The grass is now over half a metre high, so even going to the food structure will be something. So
Yeah.
we get it flashed or something.
Yeah.
They're dry enough to smell.
Patrick, I'm sure we can do something with
Yeah, I
that.
can probably add to that. So some of the areas we can't access with mowers and machinery because the water hasn't subsided yet. So as soon as we can, we've got a program to do that. And in regards to the nature strips, we'll be undertaking a maintenance program when we can again when the that place.
And can I just also mention very calm, with the live stream tonight, that'll be on our website, people will be watching tonight, but it'll also be on our website from tomorrow for as long as it needs to be. And we weren't able to organise interpreters for tonight, but we are having the material translated, and that will be supplied with the live stream. So it'll be either tomorrow or the next day.
And how was the live stream link conveyed to anybody?
I'm sorry?
How was the live stream link conveyed to people to watch?
It is on our website.
Well, it would have been good to put in a newsletter,
It would have
so it
been.
would have been.
Yeah, at the time we had to get the newsletter out to tell you about the meeting. It's taken us a couple of hours to get the live stream organised. So we're doing our best, sir.
Just
but
on
I
that-
take your point.
Just on that note, with the updated community newsletter, we will be including that information. So it's on our website, as well as our YouTube and our Facebook page, just to cover all platforms where possible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, look, this issue about the notification of meetings and so forth, it's similar actually to the notification residents got about the impending flood. Now, I got a text message at 4:45, I think, in the morning saying that the river's going to flood. I think 3 houses, I live in Oakland Street, I think 3 houses down the bottom of Oakland Street, and down there, got evacuation orders. I didn't get one, but I was told there's an impending flood. Now, as it transpired, this impending flood, which I was warned about at 4:45, I think it was, 7:30, the water was on my driveway. Right? 11 o'clock was in my house. Where was the early warning?
Okay, so in relation to that, that was the control agency of the MCS. There will be a debrief conducted on that.
Yeah.
No one here.
Where's the representatives of the government, of Melbourne Water, etc. here in this meeting? What all these people up here are doing is fantastic. Great for the community and everything. Everyone appreciates it. But we want action from governments, from bureaucrats about who running the system, especially about the warning system. When's the last time you can't answer this. Last time the Maribyrnong was ever dredged for silt and everything would have been...
I was a kid.
Yeah, would have been
And
a long
I'll
time
be
ago.
We
We need answers about flood mitigation and what's proposed and that. Sorry, just one other thing. And just, I mean, fantastic what's been done post the disaster. I applaud it, and so does every resident here. But I didn't come here to listen to how good all you guys are doing. I wanted to hear what's going to happen with the Maribyrnong River.
Okay, so
But you can't answer it, because no one...
absolutely, but what I did want to say is, please, don't apologise. Everyone more than fine and understand the answer and want the answers. I believe there'll be further meetings in the future with Melbourne Water and so on, so there will be some answers given. There needs to be further education about communication, absolutely correct. However, at this stage, I'm not going to have any of those answers for you.
Paul, I can make a comment, just that we understand that. Can I just comment? That yesterday, my executive and I had a meeting with Melbourne Water to start this process off.
should be here.
So tonight we wanted to...
The levels of what it reaches.
You show a little bit of respect and let us speak.
To measure the water level, not one home.
So at the
It's been
moment,
over a week.
I understand what you're saying. At the
No, you
moment,
don't
we're
understand,
focusing...
you're not going through it. Melbourne Water needs to be accountable. They should have been here tonight.
Yeah, so they need to do their planning as well, and they need to work with us, and that's what
Not
we said to
working
them,
with
and they
anyone.
need to come back. They're not in a
They're
position to
untouchable.
come back at this point.
Thanks.
We're working with them.
Sorry.
Yes, ma'am, you have a question?
4 years I live in Maribyrnong, opposite the river, number 9, in Present. I asked the council to fix the river, make it deeper, clean up. They did that a few times, but they didn't. And I asked, on the neighborhood to do like a retaining wall, like they had in the rice course. And since the rice course, the retaining wall, this time the flood was double the amount. Below the first floor, my house, it reached up to the ceiling. I had to throw everything. Like I had the safety switch, Otherwise, my house will blow up because they touch the light. So I went so many times to the council. I reported so many things. On Sunday night, two guys, they were in my backyard because of the fence that went down for the work. But I thank those people in blue. They came yesterday to fix a little bit of the fence temporarily. Again, I asked about 3 or 4 months ago, the people of the council, since from Venice Avenue and my backyard and my next door and so on, they put a lot of trees, so I'm covered. So it attract those trespassing to do so, to jump the fence, to come to our property. As I repeat, I lived for 41 years in this house. We never had any trespassing or someone breaking, thank God. But I asked the council, could you please cut the shrubs or cut the trees so it will be empty? And another thing, a lot of rubbish I collect. Next time I will put it in a bigger bag. I call the people in the office in Putskai, and I will collect to show them, because I collect a lot of rubbish. Since they put all of this, a lot shrubby and big trees in my backyard, on the side of my backyard. At this time I still got in my backyard a lot you know, when they shrub the trees, but they pile up the barks everywhere and they never come back to do whatever or clean somewhere else. Yes, opposite, the same thing. They come every Saturday to do exercise. 7 o'clock in the morning, my son went to work. There was no rubbish. As soon as those people, they come, 4 big bags of rubbish. So across the road, I had nearly my broke leg. I was going to a X-ray. I called the guy, and he said, I got nothing to do. I said, it's your people, and you have to tell them to not rubbish in here, in your area. So the council know those people who they are. I reported already a couple of times. I took the number of the supervisor, so on, because he was working from the bridge. He was destroyed all the parkland because she was coming through the parks and then to come to the street. So I reported that too. I'm like watchdog, but the council, they do a terrific job, but sometimes they don't listen to my voice. Right? So that's why I'm here.
Well, I'm hearing you now, and I'm certainly going to follow up.
And as soon as I ring up, sometimes I say, oh yeah, it's you, Angela. They recognize my voice because I ring up so many times.
I haven't met you before, Angela, but I'll look forward to meeting you at the end of the meeting. And just with the whole riverbank, that is the whole thing we have to work with, actually Melbourne Water and Parks Victoria, on what the permanent solution is. So I would just say that it's not just the council, we need to collaborate with the other agencies.
Okay, can I say one thing to give the message to Melbourne Water? Because I live next to an empty block, and before I used to belong to the council. And now I was told last year, or the year before, they never cut the grass is this side. Plus, the fence is down. And I went there, I took pictures a couple of years ago and last year. I said, and then they come to cut the grass. And now, the fence is down. I told the people, all the people from your office, and still a lot of rubbish coming from other places, and my fence on the side of the house, which I got pictures here if you want to see, is still there. Nobody from there, I reported to people.
Angela, if you're able to wait at the end, Patrick and I will have a chat to you to make sure that's all sorted.
No, just to let them know that you sent someone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah, look, I'd just like to find out why I attended the first meeting on the Saturday, and one of the big concerns that was raised, and I think actually council themselves raised it, was that we're flanked by 3 petrol stations. And at that stage, one of the residents was a previous owner, and the question was asked, how can we tell how much oil and how much petrol is out and how much is in tanks still? So, thanks. So then I live directly opposite the ambulance, so we're probably hit with a lot of mud and silt and crack, really. And it still smells terrible. I don't need to know there's E. coli, I can smell it, and it's really quite strong. But it was very evident on that day when we first started the clean-up, the orange slick, the petrol, the smell of the petrol, the number of people that held out at my house that were nauseous and felt really sick. My question is this: why did it take the Wednesday for the EPA to be involved when we knew on the Saturday that three petrol stations had been impacted? Now, I called the EPA on Wednesday. The EPA were at my house 4 hours later, and it's my understanding that council were involved after that. I put in a first property report. That was my indication that that had been taken by EPA. Why, and I've been on the radio, here I come up because I was really concerned about the health implications that I was actually putting my volunteers through. We've got carshes, we've got mud splatting, and it's fine to take the testing on Wednesday, but it's dissolved. It's not as strong as what we were doing. Given we knew on the Saturday, why weren't there boots on the ground? And it's nothing to the EPA, because I don't think you guys knew. The council certainly knew. The council knew on that Saturday what we were dealing with. I went on the radio, I heard I can't remember, I actually went on ABC with Rucky or something like that to find out. And at that point, I think there was a comment that it was harmless. And I kept asking, well, where is the EPA? They still weren't coming. And like I said, I then got a TPI number, made a property report, put it as a high urgent that we had 3 petrol stations impacted. And my understanding, they hadn't been contacted prior to that. And I don't know why.
Well, I can just say that the EPA have been working with us since the start, and yes, they.
Well, why weren't they testing on the Saturday when we knew 3 petrol stations were impacted?
Well, I think
that's massive.
I might just share, obviously, in terms of the timing of the testing, that was Wednesday. In terms of some of the service stations, we did do some work on the Monday to understand the condition. Obviously, some of them still very impacted and closed, and we are actually working with them to understand any internal investigations around loss of materials there with that, and happy to chat about some of the details more afterwards. I think one of the, just in terms of the general amount of potential contamination or pollution in floods, that's obviously one of the really challenging factors about floods, and hence why we've got some handy fact sheets out the front to help understand what some of those potential things might be and risks during floods. And obviously the pleasing thing is the results at the moment, but I can appreciate the timing perspective from your perspective.
There was one, thank you, there was one other question too that I'm representing somebody else who asked me, it's a really valid question, on our air quality. Given that there's so much dust and sediment and silt and the street cleaners have been going up and blowing that around, has there been air quality testing done so that we can fully understand the dust implications as well?
We haven't been doing specific testing for the works and certainly haven't been seeing specific risk for it. I guess if there are concerns, we'll encourage people to report through, and what we do is obviously work with the clean-up agencies and making sure they're undertaking a lot of that work carefully, as Christian was saying.
So is it possible to have our air quality tested with all, like they said, there's so many machines, there's so many dust, there's so much residue, there's so much E. coli, and it's blowing in the air with the breathing. I can't stay in my property, but for a lot of families I know that they are back in their property and we're cleaning up. I've actually stopped all the cleaning up until I actually knew what I was dealing with my own health implications. But also I wasn't prepared to put anybody I knew back in terms of voluntary helping until I actually knew what we were dealing with, given that potent smell that was certainly an issue.
Thank you. That's a good question. We'll certainly work with agencies cleaning up and consider it.
Thanks for that. Sir, you were next.
Thank you. Got a couple of points, but first I'd like to acknowledge the general community and all the volunteers who've been absolutely fantastic. My first point is with the hard rubbish. We've had the majority of it collected from our streets, so we're quite fortunate. Still heaps to go. I understand it is a long process, but I was advised that the trucks that are picking it up, it's almost a 3-hour turnaround because they're taking it to Geelong. Is there a specific reason why Geelong, there is a contamination plant there or something? Because that's a long process. So that was the first point. Second point is, Oakland Street, not from Oakland Street, it's taken 5 days to collect all the rubbish. And that's just one street. It's not a big street either. And it's still getting collected. The second point, the lady raised it before, and that's probably not a major concern now with the lawns, with all the nature strips, but obviously it's council property, but we maintain it all throughout the year. Now, I don't have, actually I've got no lawn on it at the moment.
Yeah.
Obviously the trucks and the pickers and dumping pickers and all that rip it all apart. There is a concern as well, I mean we could talk about contamination and EPA and so forth. With that, is it towards the end, I expect that to be done towards the end maybe. Will that actually be stripped back, topsoil again and replanted and so forth? That's something that is a bit of a concern.
So maybe if I start with the hard rubbish. So the Diamond Road transfer station that we normally use was flooded, and that wasn't available I think until Tuesday. So I didn't know that our contractors were going to Geelong. There may have been other contractors, but Diamond Road is now operating, so the hard rubbish should be going there.
Just some clarification there. There's a number of sites that the hard rubbish is being taken to. It's not just Geelong. Yeah. There's a number of sites to spread it out. And remember, there's a state issue here as well. It's not just Maribyrnong. There's wider implications at the state level. So Geelong is one of the number that are being utilised.
And to your second point, which someone else has already raised, I've said that we will take care of the nature strips at the moment. We need to wait for that water to all go down, and we'll get our mowers out to.
It's good to have people, I understand everyone's trying to just do it where they can in terms to assist everybody. When you're on the streets on a daily basis, from morning to night, that's when you really know what's going on.
Yeah, no.
We're going to it's great to
I appreciate
or so forth and have these meetings to hear everyone's concerns and so forth. But once you're out there on the streets like everybody else is and you live it and breathe it every day, you'll get a true understanding of what's going on. And then I guess it'll be much better managed. You guys are probably doing the best that you can as well. Is it the right thing? Maybe, maybe not. So until you're out there with the people, the residents and so forth, to get a true understanding, that's when things I think will work more efficiently as well.
Thank you.
Councillors, CEO, I'm really glad to have you all here today. Body language has been a little bit defensive, if I'm honest. What I want to raise is that this is not your fault. I don't think there is anyone in this room that will say it's council's fault that this happened. But it is your opportunity to make a difference. This is not the first flood that Maribyrnong has experienced. 48 years ago, we had a 1 in 50-year flood. The marker is on my house wall, and it's only 1 inch below what Friday's floods were. 4.22 metres, 14th of October, it flooded the same house that I'm living in today, again. There is an opportunity here for you to use this as a platform to make a difference for Maribyrnong. The planning restrictions, the environmental restrictions that we face living in this municipality are unknown to any other municipality in Melbourne. And so this is your opportunity, this is the platform. I don't want to hear things like we're having meetings. I want a specific, measurable set of actions that are planned with accountable individual names against them to know what is going to be done for the residents of Maribyrnong. That is my ask, and I'm pretty sure I can mirror probably most of the people in this room. I don't want to know that there's a meeting with Melbourne Water. I want to know why there is a meeting with Melbourne Water and what is going to be done as a result of that meeting. Because I don't want to have an insurance premium of $25,000 next year, which is likely to be the case if Queensland has anything to go by, which will make it largely unaffordable for probably every single person in this room, because council has not done anything to mitigate future floods, and insurers will jump on that for next year.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Thank you. That's all valid points. And actually have a response right now, as you can imagine, because there isn't a plan in place that I can give you. Anyone here can give you, but thank you for voicing those concerns.
This is the opportunity though, right?
Absolutely, it's the opportunity.
Because 48 years ago, no one remembers that. I wasn't born then. Most people in this room are probably teenagers.
We got a 30-year ago as well.
Right?
86.
We totally understand. So there are things we put in place in the future. So some of of these answers, Ken.
Right. So at the next meeting, what I would love to see is that there are a sequence of meetings planned with very important individuals which have decision-making rights. That means that the defence site is utilised or a similar wall is built to the race course.
Yes, ma'am.
Race course, they got everything, because the horses.
Hello. I've got a couple of questions. I'm a resident on Clyde Street, so I'm just going to go through my questions for my neighbours that I've consolidated. Firstly, just interested to understand, did you open this meeting with an acknowledgement to the country?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, because I missed that. So my second question is, if you guys are door knocking on doors and residents have left to emergency evacuation, how are you intending to communicate with the residents if they have left for emergency accommodation, for testing of soil, any debris, anything like that?
So everybody that we've placed, we know where you are.
Yes.
I'm not going to pronounce it now for privacy reasons, but we know where you are. We are every day delivering the newsletter.
But we're not at the residence.
No, I know, I understand that. Where we can leave that that newsletter somewhere safe, we've been doing that.
Yep.
And we've also been using social media. So I don't know if there's. Where's our comms?
So there's a lot of elderly people in Maribyrnong.
Hand delivered.
Yes.
Hand delivered, and we're also wanting to check on people.
Okay. So in terms of the demographics, there are a lot of elderly folk living in Maribyrnong that do not have social media. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. These are, your average Joe Blows that have pen and pieces of paper. So strongly suggest that you revisit your communication strategy for those residents in particular who are very upset because they don't speak English and they don't have the means. We've lost our computers, our laptops. All we have are our mobile phones right now.
So hence why we've got the hard copy, but I take your point if someone's not there and then they can't find the newsletter.
So my next question is around the soil. So we have a lot of pets, as you would imagine, being, part of Maribyrnong City Council with humans and pets. Is it safe for our pets, for example dogs, to walk past the grass in our backyard and in the parks?
I don't believe there's anything to be unduly concerned about for your pets to walk. There's no trace metals of any concern.
Right.
PFAS, hydrocarbons.
Yep.
There is, as I mentioned, in some of the sediments that's in the river, there's some elevated levels of
So are you going to be
coli.
publishing that report in terms
Yes,
of
I
your
said that
analysis,
earlier.
your findings, so we can all view it?
So we will publish the samples we collected last Wednesday in public open space for the general public, and then the individuals who participate in the programme, they will get their own results, and we'll also provide a sort of a summary of the results, because we can't provide individual results because of the privacy reasons.
So in terms of our own backyards, is anyone going to help us with the mud?
That's where disaster relief.
Because I've contacted that number 15 times during 3 days. The first 2 people I spoke to had no idea what was going on at all. The people on those forums are not educated and empowered to help local residents because they don't have an understanding of what services we can benefit from. So strongly suggest if you're going to put correspondence with a number for residents who are in distress to call, perhaps empower and enable those service attendants to give us the information we need. Not just take our number and don't communicate. I can give you my call history of all my neighbours that are distressed, ringing contact numbers, and no one is returning our phone calls. We've got post-traumatic stress disorder from this experience. It's unacceptable. Why do we pay council rates? And what are you going to do for financial assistance for council rates moving forward? What are we going to do? We are struggling. I would like to make a suggestion for consideration. I would like your newsletters that you publish on Facebook, YouTube, I want accountability. I want you to create an action plan with all the actions your measures of success, and when you are going to be doing it. So we residents know what action you're taking, when, and what your measures of success are. Because this is all talk. All talk. Actions speak louder than words. It's disgusting. And lastly, before I forget, sorry, one more thing. From a safety perspective, we have kids, very, very young kids. I live on a property where my fence is encroaching a yard, which is public. It's steel. If someone gets injured, you're liable. If someone dies, you're liable. I've contacted the council and I've spoken to that young lady there. He's taken my name and my number. No one is fixing that fence. What if someone gets injured? It's so important that you do a safety check. You have the risk. You must comply. These are people here, okay? Don't sit in your offices, behind your desks, on your laptops, talking. I came into this room 2 days ago. Do you know what I saw? I saw all council members in their suits, booted, laughing, eating cupcakes and drinking coffee. Disgusting. When I came in to try and make safe electrician, do you know what I was told by one of your council members? Stay clear, you're dirty. How dare you? How dare you? Can I just respond to that? I'm sorry. Disgusting.
I don't know who gave you that information, but I believe you that happened, but I'm not sure who would have said that to you. That's not how our staff are trained. Our staff, including myself, have been working 7 days a week. I have not been sitting down here in my boots eating cupcakes. I have been down to the street, I've been working here. All of our staff, we've had 250 staff out on the street, plus the relief centre staff here. So I'm sorry, but you need to know that your council staff are working for you.
Thank you.
And we are in a disaster.
In terms of actions, I would like to understand what actions the council are taking. In your newsletter, publish with your measures of success and the chronology of when it's going to be taking place, so we can understand.
We will get to that. Can I just say to you that we are here managing a disaster, as well as we need to keep our other council services going as well. So once this immediate emergency is over, of course, we will be transparent to the community about what we're doing. If you can just be with us while we get through this week particularly, and then we will come back about the plan forward. We'll talk to you about Melbourne Water. We'll even get Melbourne Water out, but we're not able to do that this week.
Are you going to be doing anything for our rates for financial?
Yes, we are actually. So the councillors have not had a chance to consider this yet, but as officers we have already looked at what can we do for our residents with rates. We need to put that to the councillors and they'll need to resolve on it. So everything can't happen overnight. I appreciate your concern, but yes, we have thought of that and we are coming back to the councillors who will then come back to you with that, what that will be.
Did you have anything to add?
Yeah, just about the 1-800 number. Hi, I'm Martina. I missed your name in that. Hi, Jeanette? Yeah. Look, thank you for that feedback about the 1-800 number. And I'm really sorry that it's fallen short in your case. That's certainly not the kind of service that we want to provide. I know that we did have a period where we had such a massive influx of calls that so I'd like to chat with you about what is it that you needed that you didn't get through that number. Absolutely. But if I can learn from you.
I'm saying, don't worry about me. I'm saying the feedback I'm providing you is communication is king. This is a crisis. Our resilience has been tested. If I'm having problems, so are my neighbours. And my neighbours are stressed.
Yep.
Okay? They can't wait for 2 hours for a call back or to be on hold. So it's not about me, it's about you provide a service that we as taxpayers are paying.
Agreed, Jeanette. And if I can learn from your experience, that's going to make it better for everyone else. So what I will say is that all of our operators are trauma-informed trained. They're all really experienced at supporting people at their point of need. But if that fell short for you, I want to find out why, and I want to try and fix that. So thanks for raising that today. Yeah.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions. I'd like some secure bins, because clearly secure bins.
Secure bins?
Yeah. So clearly we've lost paperwork and identifiable things, and we've already had cyber attacks and so forth, so will they be available?
I think Patrick can take that on notice after the meeting.
Secure.
We can come back to you.
The other thing is activities around the river. On Friday, Maribyrnong Park Run was going to run. I don't know who thought that was a great idea, given how much distress everyone's in. So, to the council, please don't run. And I'm not talking about the park run, I'm talking about any activities around the affected area. It's not tasteful, it's distressing, it's dangerous, as people are saying, with so much grass and possibility of snakes and so forth. So I don't need an answer from you, I'm just telling you that I don't think it's tasteful and should be done. And the last thing is, if we live in a flood zone, I don't understand why we don't have a drill, we don't have anything that comes out through the council news. I wasn't prepared, okay? I wasn't prepared because I got a door knock at 5:15. I got a text message at 6:01 to say evacuate.
No.
I live in Clyde Street, like Jeanette.
About 3:30 message.
Okay? I live in Clyde Street. I had no understanding of one. They said 30 minutes to an hour it's going to happen. At 5:45, I barely can make anything work without a coffee. All right? I didn't know what to do. I packed a couple of things and a change of clothes. I sent my kids off to school. That's how I didn't understand. You guys understand it a bit better. Help us get prepared for another one. It's going to happen again. And I want a flood wall. It's ridiculous that we don't have a flood wall.
Yes. For 40 years I asked. The general waters, for 40 years.
Just 1 second. Thank you for that information. We'll take that on notice. It's really appreciated. Very valid as well.
I adore this book.
Thank you. I've just got a few questions just about the hard rubbish in the nature strip. So we're still in the process of removing a lot of the stuff that we need to remove. So I'm just wondering what the commitment is for pickups to continue, like how long that will be. The other part, with the nature of what we're all looking out there's a lot of broken glass that's also been compacted into the nature strips just because of the way we're having to get the bulldozers to pick up stuff. So concerned about that. I don't think we should just rip a sniffer or mow it, because I think glass will be flying everywhere. So just wondering about the topsoil. And then the other thing, we've got these charming people who are going along the street shopping on our nature strips, picking stuff up, which obviously as a police thing I believe you can't do anything about. But my concern is just there is a hell of a lot of glass, even what we have to put into the garbage bags. If anyone was to be injured, is that who's responsible for those people that are sort of, I guess, looting on the nature strip, not looting in the houses?
So firstly, just on the hard rubbish, that will keep going until we've picked it all up. So that will keep going, and we are aware of the glass, and we have, I mean, if you can also help us, if there's something outside your property and there's smashed glass, I know we had a walk around on the weekend, there's quite a lot there, we've tried to get people in to clean that up. So we are only as good as the information we get and what we can see when we're on the ground, so please let us know.
So how do we do that?
You can email us, you can ring us, you can come down here to the centre, you can tell us tonight. So Patrick, who is down the back there, is the person to let that know. The other part of your question, can you just remind me what it was?
Yeah, so the nice people coming down and shopping on Friday streets.
Well, I mean,
there's people dumping
and
stuff
obviously
down
the
there.
material is not clean. I don't know how we police that.
Look, there's ongoing controls around, as you can imagine, that's what we're doing. We can't be in every street every second. If you do see something that's going on, let us know, please take a photo.
Sorry, guys. Is it illegal for people to take stuff off the lawn?
Yes,
and put it out?
because it wasn't in the tins anyway. It's outside.
At the end of the day, it's hard rubbish being put out. People have been putting hard rubbish out for hard rubbish collection, and people come along and take it.
Yeah.
And no one's been.
Goes to the tip anyway. They took mine, they took my bicycle.
When it gets put out, our major concern is if they did disrupt it and fell onto the roadway, yes, they did get hurt. They have to be locked, so you just have to call us.
Yeah, and a guy, we had a washing machine, and a guy on Ratchet came and said, "Can I take it?" I'm like, "Well, it's contaminated," and it took 4 of us to get it out of the house. It was half full of water, and then I thought the washing machine was going to fall on him. What happens in that situation? Is he, like, who's responsible?
That's his own responsibility.
Okay, so once we put it out, if they get cut, anything like that.
You can't then say to you now have to explain. I won't rest assured.
Thank you.
Just this lady here, so, sorry.
I'm going to start my start from Warriors. First of all, can you just speak up? Sorry, bit of I'm finding it hard. Sorry. So the first thing I want to do, and there's 3,200 of you now, and it was 4 when I went to bed on the night of the flood, is thank you. Thank you for everything that you did for this community. Can I ask who's the councillor here? Becky Taylor. Yeah. I started a Facebook page on a Friday night. Next morning there was 500. I had troops on the ground, beautiful volunteers, cleaning up for these poor residents on a Sunday. That was about 1,000 people who joined by then.
I think so.
Yeah, about that. There's now 3,200. I could speak for an hour about the beautiful stories and the wonderful volunteers. And that's people that were on the ground, and that was people that was working behind the scenes, like I have some great admin crew backing out. You failed, and they pay your taxes and your wages. You failed these people. I'm a doctor. I'm also a person that does emergency crisis management. That's beside the point. I'll just point out now, I'm not even a bloody resident. Used to be. But I stepped in because you didn't do anything. And I agree, there's a few comments here tonight I could go on. But here's what I've got to say. I want to ask a lot of questions of council, but this one is a long-term question. Okay, so please bear with me. I have written it down, so please bear with me. And I broke my glasses on my way in. And this is about the long-term effects on all of you. Does council have a strategy going forward to deal with the increasing incidence of flooding as part of the broader response to climate change? And more importantly, if asbestos was really an issue, as you said, Mayor Tran, on Q&A last week, where you were too concerned about your own staff to come in and help us, then why did you not contact me? Why did you not tell the Warriors? Why did you not tell the residents of the possible problems with asbestos, which every single one of you could be contaminated? If asbestos was really an issue for the council, why didn't they implement a strategy that also included all these residents and all these volunteers? Particularly given that people were depositing hard rubbish and hard waste for collection. And this hard waste could have been contaminated. In fact, it probably is. Aren't council aware aren't council aware that in an emergency situation There isn't an us and them. But that danger is shared and requires a collective and inclusive response. Is there a disaster plan or policy that coordinates state and local governments? One that doesn't result in local governments sitting on their hands because of jurisdiction issues. The feeling on the ground, and I know because I've been there, was lack of care and leadership by the people that pay their rates to you. Thank you. I think I'd like to hear a councillor's response, actually. No, thanks.
Kitty, you're our hero. Thank you for your hard work.
So what we can do in answer to that, you can speak to councillors at the end, because unfortunately we need to finish this meeting up, okay? I've already run over time. Hang on a second, sir, sorry everyone. But we've gone over time already, and happy to have come up and speak to us after this. So thank you everyone for coming. Please hang around and ask a question if you need to, if you want to, it's important to us. Thank you very much for your attendance. Have a stay safe, please.